So today we will talk about it. It is about his style that we are going to talk about, and it is very important for Tamilians. You know, in India there is a power state, and we are full of styles, and we give so much importance to style and things like that. And I see a particular style even in Nessia. She's only 5 years old, but she has her own style. I see that in many of us. All of us have a particular style in the way we conduct ourselves, in the way that we communicate, and things like that. And it made me think about what is the Lord's style in that sense. But when we talk about style and we talk about as such He possesses it, then it will be a wrong information. I'm not talking about it. But I'm considering here style as something that you are and how you are expressing it in all the conversation you have, all the communications you have, and so on and so forth. And you know, how do we know somebody's style is by how they interact with us, right? How they interact with us. So that is where I started. I wanted to see how God interacted with human beings, and that is where I started. And then probably we'll go deep into it. But I'm somehow convinced, if I have to put a finger and say this is God's style in such, then it would be definitely His love. I know we should not talk about His love as such. He possesses it. It is who He is. It is His attribute. However, if in everything that He interacted with human beings, every part of our life, how He interacted with us at least, and His creation, if you have to put a point and see what would be this one style of His, then I would say that is the resounding love for me, at least for me. And maybe you can come up with differences. I'm not saying this is doctrinal too, but this is what I feel, and this is how I experience it. So now let's talk about how does God interact with human being in a bigger picture, right? So what are the questions that we have? Not everybody necessarily have these questions, but there are majorly 4 questions that we have, right? Number one thing is, for any human being, there are 4 questions that we should be asking constantly. Even if, you know, maybe obviously we are asking these questions some days, but other days it is just in us that we are asking this question, right? Where did I come from? You know, what is the origin of my life? That is the number one question that we ask, and even atheists ask, and every different religions ask this question: where did I come from? What is my origin? That is the number one question that we will talk about, and how His style is expressed there. And the second thing we will talk about: why am I here? What is the purpose of human life? And what is the moral of human life? What is right and what is wrong? That is such a confused question in this era, at least, you know. Nobody can say what is right and wrong, and that will be such an offensive thing. But we do have right and wrong. We have standards. We have objective standards. That's what we believe in. And we are going to talk about it. What is right and what is the moral, and how He expressed His style there as well. And an ultimate question is, where am I heading to? Where I came from has significance. What I'm doing here has significance. What is the moral? What is right or wrong has significance. But ultimate question here is, where am I heading? What is after the 70 or 80 or 60 years of my life? What is there for me? That is another very important question all of us struggle with. All of us struggle with. So those are the 4 questions that we will talk about, and how He beautifully, you know, put His signature there, or His style, how He expressed His style in that part of human life. That is what we are going to talk about. So number one thing is, you know, I for all these 4 questions, I have all different religions. Some of the different religions, maybe without a religion, how they look into it, how they answer all these 4 questions, and some of those answers are very depressing. And I'm going to also talk about what we believe in, and how we believe, or how we see that style of our Lord expressed in all these answers. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So where did I come from, or where did we come from as human race? There are so many different theories, and you'll be amazed. Probably some of you are interested, like me. I am interested in that. I always check and see what other people think about it. And number one thing, obviously many, of course, if you're not a creationist, then you believe in evolution, right? Evolution is very common, well-known theory that we have, but sometimes people talk as though it is a fact, which is not. It is also a theory, just like creationism, and we can talk about it all day. But number one thing is evolution, right? Some of the people think that we evolved little by time and chance, and matter, all these things put together, for a long, long time, millions of years, just by chance, we all came into being. That is, but from nothing, we all are created, little by little from change. That is number one thing that it says. There is no love about it, there is no style in it. We are just here, right, by chance. And I am not a big believer in anything that says just chance, you know, because I see something more into it. So that is definitely not appealing. And another interesting, this is not appealing, but this is something exciting or interesting. There is a theory that says we all fled from Mars, you know. Mars once had a lot of water, and it is now, and there is a truth to it. Mars once had a lot of water, and then we all evolved in Mars, and then we fled from there to come to Earth. Or someone put us there in Earth. That is another theory that people believe in. And then, second thing is, this is another interesting thing. There is this whole planet that is missing between Mars and Jupiter. You know why? There is a place called asteroid belt. We know that, right? There are so many asteroids that is between Mars and Jupiter. There is asteroid belt. Why? There should not be any asteroid belt, but still it is there. Why it is there is because there was a big planet that got that destroyed into small pieces, and we all evolved in that planet. And because that planet was going to be destroyed and becoming an asteroid belt, then we all came to something similar to the Mars, fleeing from Mars, something similar to that, but not from Mars, but from this planet that we had. But you know, out of all these things, this story is really very much interesting. This guy, he's not a crazy person. He's well educated. He's a doctor in ecology, and he is an environmentalist. He studies about lakes and the depths of it. He is the scientist in a sense. And you know what he believes? He believes that aliens put us here, and this is a prison planet. We are all here. We are serving our sentences, whatever sentence that should be. Why he thinks that, you know, it is interesting. Why he has to, this great intellectual person, he's an ecologist, he learned his stuff, it is not like he's crazy. Why would he think that? Because, you know, he cannot with all his intellect say that we evolved in this earth. It is not right in his mind, because, you know, we didn't evolve in this earth. We are created, right? But then he has to come up with an answer for it, because we didn't evolve here. And that is, all the three things other than the evolution is what is that. You know, because, you know, he's trying to say why we are having all these issues. If we evolve here, we should not have this much sensitivity to sun. We are not really this perfect evolved being. We have a lot of trouble because of our depravity and sin. We are not perfect, and we know it. This earth is not for us to really thrive in such a thing. So he has to come up with another explanation. He thinks that we are here serving our sentence. The aliens put us here, and this is a present planet. That is another interesting, very, very interesting thing. And this guy, who is an environmentalist, ecologist, and this whole book about humans are not from Earth. This whole book gives different reasons or different possibility, because, you know, he has to come up with an answer that why we didn't evolve here, yet we are here, right? He has to come up with a scientific explanation for that, and that is what he said. So these are the possibilities, right? These are some of the answers that people are giving you. When we say, where did I come from as a human being? People have all these answers. Yet where do we find the style or the signature of our Lord is here. You know what Bible talks about? We are His masterpiece, it says. We are His masterpiece. He created us for good work, for a very specific purpose. He sat with us, and He didn't even create all of us in one cookie cutter factory. He created each of us with very, very specific, unique call for us. That's what Bible says. And you know, this guy Dawson McAllister, he put it in a very beautiful way. He's one of the talk show hosts, and he's a well-known personality. He says, despite not needing us, God never needed us. If we think somehow God created us because He was deprived of love, we are fools. You know, He is love in Himself. And in between Trinitarian love, it is enough of love. It is more than enough of perfect love. He doesn't have to create a people who will fall and have depravity and knowing all those things. He didn't have any need to create us. He didn't need to create us. Yet He chose to create us. That is what He says. He chose to create us. Not because He was deprived of love, but that is just His style, to create people with love, out of His love. That is His style. And that is how our origin explains his style, I think. Where we came from, why we are created. There are so many, maybe there is no reason, I cannot really say biblically, Bible gives you this particular reason why human beings are created. It is not saying that. But then we are created for a purpose. Bible says that. Very specific, unique purpose. And I do believe out of his abundance of love, abundance, eternal love, that he created human beings. That's how I feel it. That is exactly how I see his style in our origin. I don't see any style in all those explanations. Yes, it is very, very intriguing, very exciting, but then I don't see any of those things making sense to me, other than saying that, for we are his workmanship. You know, workmanship in another word is, in a root cause, if you have to go back and see the root cause, we are his masterpiece. Each one of us is his masterpiece. It is not like he created 10 people and then we were error and perfection kind of a style. That is not what we are. We are not by chance. We are his masterpiece. It all came in his mind. It is almost like that drawing. Every time I read this word masterpiece, then somehow this Picasso or some of the artist comes into my mind, you know, that Mona Lisa picture or something like that comes into my mind. We are his masterpiece. Each one of us are his masterpiece. That's what this Bible is talking about. And in Ephesians 2:10 it says, we are created in Christ Jesus for good works, which he prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So that is his style. I feel like that is exactly the style of my Lord. And that is how it explains my origin. And we'll go to the next one. So the next question is, why am I here? Is the next question. Okay, I am created out of this abundance, eternal, unchanging love. Okay, that is great. Now, why am I here? What am I trying to do here? So there are so many different explanations that is given for that as well. People are trying to see what is the purpose of life. That is a major question. Why am I here? Is a major question. And Dalai Lama, that is a religion, that is Buddhism, right? He is talking about greatest degree of happiness. I am here to pursue the greatest degree of happiness, whatever that could look like. That is what he thinks. And Aristotle is a great philosopher. We all know him. We have heard of him, right? Aristotle. He thinks pursuit of happiness is what is the purpose of life. And Hinduism thinks like 4 things are there: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That means righteousness, prosperity, enjoyment, enlightenment. That is why we are here. That's what they are constantly struggling to obtain. That is the purpose that, according to Hinduism, that is why we are here. And Darwinism is one depressing, that's what I said, one depressing purpose they have. All they can come up with is to survive and to reproduce. That's why we are here. There is nothing more to it. As long as you can survive and reproduce, that is all is your purpose. You know, I have heard these young people with lot of knowledge and philosophy sitting down and talking for 3 hours, 4 hours about, you know, in YouTube videos you can see it, and if you're interested I can send this, how depressing it is when you don't have this explanation of why we are here, how depressing it is. They have to come back and say, why are we here? What is the reason for us to be here? All they can say is to survive and reproduce. There is nothing more they can come up with, and that is Darwinism. And you can say atheism or whatever, agnostic or whatever it is, all these things falls under that. And there is another interesting thing called New Age movement that is coming up, and they wanted to say, we are here to obtain whatever appeals to our feeling. Everything is one and everything is good, so whatever appeals to you, that is what you are here to do. There is no right or wrong, there is no specific purpose as such. If it feels good to you, then that is why you are here. That is what they think. I can't even go there. You know what? If I am here to do whatever feels good to me to do, then that would be one big disaster of a life that I have, everybody around me have, okay? That just doesn't make any sense to me. But however, that is what they believe in. So these are the different beliefs that we have. But look at the style that our Lord had, right? He came here and he lived with us, and one person was challenging him, okay? One of the lawyers, and the lawyers are always challenging, right? So he was challenging Christ and asking, Lord, why are we here? And what is the purpose of my life? And then Jesus is asking him back. Most of the time, you know, when anyone asks Jesus a question, Jesus will reply with a question. And that is another style of him too, when he lived in this body, right? At least I should say that, in the human form, or incarnated God. So, This lawyer is answering, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. That is the purpose of my life. He's replying to Christ. And Christ is saying, he said to him, as Jesus replied to him saying, you have answered rightly. He says that is the purpose that you're here for. There is no question. You have to love your Lord with all that you want, everything that you want. And you also should love your neighbor as yourself. And don't you see the style there? His style of love there. It's nothing more is important for him. He wants to say that love is supreme purpose. And this speaker, Ravi Zachariah, probably you have heard of it, and he always says, supreme purpose of life, of human life, is love. And that is why so much trouble. People sometimes come and ask, why there is so much pain in life? Why there is suffering in life? Why we have to go through all these things? And we'll talk about it a little bit more. And he always answers it with this. You know, without, I don't know, it could be, but then you can go into other form of questions, but it appeals to me that he says, without a free will, then there is no chance of loving, you know. And when you add to the equation free will, then there is going to be a suffering, right? Because people make choices. People make choices, people make good choices, bad choices, worse choices. There is going to be pain. And that is because of free will. And why that is needed? God, you know, sometimes it will be my style to look at a problem and say like, okay, despite all these, this is what I'm going to do. I know all the consequences of these things, not that I'm not knowing it. I know the things that will happen when I make this choice, but yet I make that choice and that becomes my style. And that is what God did. You think God didn't know when He created us with free will that these are the things we are going to do? He can see His omniscience, means He knows everything from the beginning. There is no addition to His knowledge. He knows everything in one point. Yet He created us with free will. Why? Because of love. And that is His style. He wants to see love no matter what. He saw the suffering, he can see all these things, but yet He said, despite all these, I'm still going to give you free will because love is what is supreme purpose of your life. And that is His style. And the next thing, and I know that when Christ is talking about, and He goes on to explain what is His neighbor is, He goes on to explain this Good Samaritan story. That's where it comes from. When we talk about Good Samaritan, we are sometimes talking about good works and His sacrifice and His good intention. That is what we are talking about. But you know, the real thing that Christ is explaining there is about love. The love that Good Samaritan had for this person who is vulnerable, this person whom this Good Samaritan had a capacity to help. That is what He was talking about. This love is what is explained in this Good Samaritan story. So Christ is saying, your purpose is to love. And despite all these pain, despite all these questions that you have to answer about why God created with omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresent, all these things, why God has to put up with the sufferings because of His style, and He cannot compromise it. He doesn't want to compromise it. That is who He is. And the next one is, what is right and wrong? Okay, that is another question that we have to ask. What is my purpose? And what is right and what is wrong? That is another question we always have to ask. Because, you know, if you ask me what is right and wrong, I'll give you a different definition. And if you ask my husband, he will give you a different definition. And if you ask me Sia, she will give different definition. So we should know what is really right and wrong, right? Otherwise, we will never be able to fulfill all these demands of the world. So we should know what is right and wrong for human life. So, Aristotle, again, I'm sorry about the spelling mistake there, but it is Aristotle, that same philosopher. He says, good life is a life of mindless routine. I don't know what it means. I'm not a philosopher. Forgive me for that. I can't even go there and explain what is in this guy's mind when he says, mindless routine is what is good life. That's what he says. That is what is good. And Hinduism talks about dharma, you know, in the four things that we spoke about, the purpose of life. One of the things is dharma. Dharma means pursuit of righteousness, to be right. You work to be right all the time. You constantly work. Because when you are born with the debt to God and bond with the depth to all the human beings, and then you are working hard, you're working hard. How do you work hard? By doing your duties, rights, laws, contacts, and virtues, and you're getting up early in the morning before the sun rises, and you have to pray, you have to lie down these many times, you have to take bath, you have to shave your hair, you have to do a whole lot of stuff to be right. That is your purpose. The pursuit of righteousness is what is right, they think. You pursue right, that is the right thing. And then Buddhism is thinking whatever is leading you to nirvana, means liberation from all these cares we have, that is right. If anything that leads you to nirvana, that is right. That's what they believe. And then finally, Darwinism, again a very depressing thing that they say. They say, whatever is right is what best fit the tribes that aids survival. Because remember, the purpose is survival and reproduction. So whatever tribe, it is called, whenever you hear this word natural selection, that is what they are talking about. Whatever best fits for you to survive, that is right. In case if you have to kill another person to survive, that is right at that moment. That is what they think. There is no such a thing called moral standard, there is no right or wrong. If it makes you survive, if you maybe not reproduce, that is a different thing that we do. But then that is right. That's what they believe in. And the style that we see here, right? Those are the things that they are explaining. That is what is right and wrong. You are pursuing righteousness by all your work. You are working hard for it, or else you are just doing some mindless routine, or you're pursuing righteousness. You are whatever leads you to be liberal or liberated from all your cares, or whatever fits for you to survive. That is what they think is right and wrong. And here, again, Christ is talking about this thing. You shall love, Jesus said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. And by the way, this is not what these people are creating in New Testament. This is just a repeated word from Deuteronomy, right? It is what Jews always repeat. This is something that, like, they always say this, always say this. It is almost like a very regular prayer for them to say that, okay, love the Lord with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and that is the right thing. That is what is instilled in them. And that is what is Christ, Jesus is saying here. That is what the lawyer said. It is all the repeated thing from Old Testament. So he says, that is your greatest commandment. And the second commandment is very similar to that. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And in those two commandments, every law is fulfilled. And to the Jews' mind, that would be crazy thing, because they have tremendous amount of laws that they have to fulfill. It won't even appeal to them when I say, okay, love the Lord and love your neighbor, and that's that. Okay, that is that. That is what Christ is telling here. What is right for us? What is right for us? Anything that is loving your neighbor is what is right. That is, in one sentence, he answered him. Answered everything. He answered all the questions. So what is the style that we see there? For him, if you see from Christ's eye what is right and wrong, if you love your Lord with everything that you are and with whatever you are, and if you love your neighbor, that is right in Christ's eye. That is what he's saying. Okay? That is his style. There is just nothing more to it. There is no more moral standards we have to worry about. There is no more law that we have to try to fulfill. There is no pursuit of righteousness that we have to work hard on. Or we don't have to, definitely we don't have to consider that anything that makes us survive is what is right in the eyes of the Lord. It is not. It is much more than that. It transcends our survival. It is not about this life. It is not about our survival here. It is all about love to our Lord and to our neighbor, and that is his time. Finally, the most important question is, where am I heading, right? What am I going to do after this life? Because it is only 70 years. If you have, I'm not having 70 more years, I'm already hitting 40, but then even anyone who is very, very young, 70 years is the maximum, 70, 80 years, or maybe 100 years the maximum, right? So after that, we have a long life to go. So where am I heading? And there are answers people give for that. Number one thing is, many people believe nowhere. We are not heading anywhere. That is the end of it. When you die, the grave is where you are heading. See, look at that grave. That is the end of it. That is what many people believe. There is nowhere. We are not going. If you ask people, where are we going after life, then they will say, nowhere. We are not going anywhere. That's that. And then the other people believe that we are reincarnation, that is from one life to another life, one life to another life. You see that picture there, that is the picture of reincarnation. You become like a dog to the back. I don't know if bacteria is part of reincarnation, but you become like a smaller, and you become man. And then if you are not obtaining that nirvana or liberation, then you will again endlessly become a human being, and eventually you have to attain this nirvana, the liberation. Otherwise, you're going to be continuing to be born again. That is what, not born again in our sense, but born again in a different sense. That's what people believe in nirvana. And then, another very sad thing, even after this reincarnation, what we do, after, okay, you work hard and you become right, you pursue righteousness. So where are we going with all these righteousness that we pursue? Nowhere. We are not going anywhere. We're just going to vanish and become nothing. Or in another sense, we become one with this creator or one with this universe. That is what they believe in. Eventually, we are not ourselves. We don't hold our uniqueness. We are not going to be ourselves ever. If you obtain this pursuit, if you pursue this righteousness and you become perfect, and then you will become nothing. That is such a depressing thing too. Why would you want to perfect your righteousness when you want to become nothing? That is what is the answer they have. But what did our Lord stand? What does He say? What did He say? He said, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Everlasting love means for eternity to eternity I loved you. And He says, therefore with loving kindness I have drawn you. I have created you with love. You are the supreme purpose of your life is love, and all the things that is right and wrong, all the commandments is love. And then you know what? I'm going to love you with this love that is for eternity. That is what He said. It is not going to be finished. You are not going to be vanished. You don't have to pursue any righteousness. And above all else, there is something more to it as well. But then He did it as well. She accomplished the way to do that. However, He says, with an everlasting love, that is what I loved you with. And this is one of my favorite verses in the entire Bible. He says, nor height, nor depth, this is Paul's writing, but however, you can take it as Holy Spirit inspired words. Nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. This eternal love is nothing. Nothing can separate us from this love that we are going to enjoy for eternity if you're right with God. And this verse is also another very, very encouraging word for any Christian who is going through difficulty. For if we die with Him, we shall also live with Him for eternity. We shall also live with Him. And the next verse after this verse in 2 Timothy 2:11 and 2:12 says, if you suffered with Him, you will also reign with Him. It says, if you suffered with Him, you shall also reign with Him. How are we going to reign with? It is one thing about reigning, but then there is this whole another thing about enjoying this perfect love. Enjoying this abundance of eternal love. That is His signature. That is what is the future. That is what is after 70 years. That is what is happening to us. So we can say it with confidence. We can say it with confidence. We don't have to think and say, okay, I have to pursue this righteousness and to be vanished. We don't have to say that. We don't have to be that depressing. We can say, what am I going to do after 70 years? I am going to enjoy this eternal love that created me. The love that is supreme purpose of my life. That love that is fulfillment of all commandments. I'm going to enjoy that love for eternity with the person who can really love me with that kind of perfect love. So we can say that with confidence, and that is His style. So we can see what is our origin? We are created out of love. What is the purpose of our love? Purpose of our life? To love. To love God and to love another person. What is the moral? What is right and wrong? If anyone asks you what is right and wrong, you can very clearly say to love the Lord with all your heart, with all your mind, and all your soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. That is where it stands. Everything stands there. And finally you can say, I'm going to enjoy this eternal love forever and ever. But now, I'm not going to present you with that and say it is great. It's that easy. To explaining the love of God is that easy, that simple, because we can just say these things and we can get away with it. Because people who can ask questions like that lawyer, they will come up with very many questions. So there are challenges in this love too, because rightfully so, we are only human beings and we are talking about incomprehensible love, and we will talk about it, how Paul talks about it. But however, there are difficulties in that, and I'm going to mention few of the difficulties that we might experience, or maybe other people experience too, or maybe they come and ask you these questions. So I want you to be aware of this as well. So, God is love. When we say that, people will be fine. When we say God is love and we are talking about all these love, we'll be fine. But then the love here now is so confused. It is to the point of sanitized, and this is not my words. It is a quote from a beautiful book, and I encourage all of you to read again. Is called The Difficult Doctrine of Love, and then that is where it is written. It's sanitized, democratized, and above all, sentimentalized. God's love is not sentimental. It is not the love that, as we are talking about love in everyday conversation, that is not the love we are talking about. That is not His style that I'm talking about. It's much more than that. It includes His sovereignty, it includes His holiness, it includes His wrath, and we spoke about it last time, right? It is also about His hate, love as well as hate. It is His wrath and His sovereignty, His holiness. All these things are part of this love. We cannot sentimentalize it. And if we sentimentalize it, we are not talking about His love. We are talking about something else. And the second thing is why there is the suffering and love. And I gave a little bit of explanation for it because of free will and how free will is important for it. And that's why suffering is. But that doesn't answer every question there. Despite there are questions. Okay? When a little girl is raped, where was God? You know, why that kind of suffering should be allowed? Yes, there is a free will, but there can be end to it. That God can put stop to it, and that is a big challenge, big challenge, and we can never answer, at least from the side of eternity. And the third issue we have is when we talk about love, which love are we talking about? Is it this Trinitarian love between God, Father, and the Son and Holy Spirit? Is that love we are talking about? Is that the perfect love, or the love that God has for everybody? And God does have such kind of love. He shows love to everybody. God so loved the world, the Bible says, right? God so loved the world, He loved everything that He created. And are we talking about that love? And God also have a specific love for believers. He chose us with an election. Are we talking about that love? Which love are we talking about? And that is a question. And which is the perfect love? What is this love that we are talking about? That could be a question. And finally, this is a major trouble. God, who is, when we are communicating about love, then we are talking about emotions, feelings, something that we respond to. You know, when you hug me, I hug you back. That is love. When you give me a gift, I give you back gift. That is love in human sense. But God is immutable. He is not going to change no matter what you do. So what is love in that sense? And God also, there is a doctrine called impassible. Impassible means without passion. God doesn't have any passion. He's not going to be moved by what you do and what you don't do. It is not a reflection of anything. He is who He is from eternity to eternity. Nothing changes Him. That is what it is. So He doesn't have any passion. So a God who doesn't have passion, who can never be changed, who cannot respond to you, what is love in that sense? That is very hard for us, at least in our mind, to comprehend, right? So those are the challenges that we might have when we talk about love. But yet, we can go to the next slide. But yet, we can be secure in this truth of His love and His style that shows all about love. Where we come is from love. Where we live, why we live is to love. What is right is love. Where we go is to love. So we can be secure in that kind of love, even though there are challenges, even though the things that we don't understand. And the Bible talks about, we see now as though we see in mirror, and then we will see one day face to face. We will see face to face. When the perfection comes, the imperfection will go away. Get away with it, and we can hold on to it. And that is in chapter 13 where Paul talks about all the love, and then he says, because I think he knows that these are the questions that might come when we talk about love, and he says, when the perfection comes, the imperfection will get away with. We don't understand everything about this love, but we can yet be secure that this is exactly His style to love, and for us to love as well. So I wrote this little thing when I was preparing this. I said, pain is due to love, free will is for love, cross is due to love, the cause of redemption is love. I said, He covers it all with love. His divinity is full of love because it is His attribute. And He said He removed His divine robe in love as well. So His divinity is love, and because of that He removed everything. And Bible, there is a verse about it. He removed His robe of divinity when He came down to us as a human. And He came to us because of love. He healed with love when He lived in this earth. He turned the table in the one. There is one verse where Jesus got so mad, and then He turned the table and everything, and that is out of love as well. That is out of love as well. And then He chose, and this He bore all the shame with love. We know that, and you know one One chapter in Bible that resonates with me is like, when these people are asking the 3, 4, 5 trials that where he went through on the night that he was betrayed. If you read that chapter and really, really intentionally read it, you will be like amazed why this creator of this universe should stand in that kind of sometimes he's very quiet, he's not even answering. He's not even responding, he's just standing there. When people are spitting, people are hitting, people are doing obnoxious things, but he's still standing there. Why? That scene is even above the cross itself. I feel like, to me, that giving up one's dignity is huge for God to stand there on the trials and people when they spit and things like that. Because on the cross I'm only seeing pain, physical pain, but on the trial I see much more than that. He's giving up he's totally ashamed of it. And that is because of love. And I see that scene and I'm always like, it is love. He chose to stand still on the trial with love, and he hanged on the cross with love. He rise victorious in love, and we are made right by his love. And then we also say, and I ask this, it's not a question, it's rhetorical. Isn't it his style to love? I mean, what else can you see? It is, if I have to really, really say one thing about our Lord, I can only say it is love, because everything that he did, in spite of everything, despite everything, all he is thinking about is love. That's what I'm saying. And then the last question is now what do we do with all these information that we have? Now we know that we came here because of love. Our purpose is to love, and we know that all that is right is to love. And we know that we are heading to be loved and to love. Now what are we going to do with this information is we can reflect on these two things. We can forever, I can tell you this forever, because for a while now that I'm dwelling on this. For a while now that I'm dwelling on it. Or maybe there are people who are dwelling on it for more than this. They spend their entire life dwelling on this. There are people who write books about this. I don't think it's going to ever end to reflect on this love. It is going to just continue. You have, all your lifetime will never be enough to dwell on this love. So that is number one thing that we can do. We can reflect. We can sit down and see what is this love. And then we can also see what do I do with this love. When I look at this God's love, it's very, very simple. When I look at the trial, when I look at the cross, it is very simple for me. There is nothing more that I have to write. I have to read a book to understand this love. It is very simple that he loved me. And that love is so amazing. And it is that simple, even Nessia can understand. But then, when I look at all these details of doctrinity of God coming down and becoming incarnate, and this creation and impassibility and his attributes, and what is immutability in God, what is suffering in God, why free will, Lord, all these things, it is just too much. It is just too much for me to comprehend as well. Okay, it is as simple as when you look at the cross, but when you look at the heavens and think of who God is, it is just unsettling thought in our heart. It could be both. It could be both forever. At least in this side of eternity. This love is for us to hold very, very close. You can hold it very close. There was a word like that, draw me close, Lord, that song that we sang. Draw me close, Lord, with your love, right? We sang that song. It is that simple. The moment you wanted to trust, the next moment you are in him with this eternal love. There is no more question, no more questions asked, no more things that you have to do. You are loved with eternal love. But however, you can never do anything to obtain that love, and that is very, very hard for me to comprehend it. Because all the things that we learn from this world is like, you do something and you get love. You do something and that is how you show love. For me, it is very, very hard for me to comprehend. I don't have to do anything, but yet I hold this love, and that is the truth. And that is very hard for me to comprehend. And those are the two things. It's very simple when you look at the cross. It is profoundly complex when you look at the heavens. It is very simple for you to hold, but it is also very, very complex. You can never do anything to obtain this. And finally, I wanted to read this, and Brother Thomas last year, during the watch night service, this is what he exhorted us with, to be rooted in the love of Christ. That is the whole this whole year's theme message for Corundum Ministries, and I wanted to end with that. Maybe you may be able to, and Paul is here saying, you may be able to comprehend, and this is such another profound verse that he says, you may be able to comprehend with all the saints with what is the width and length and depth and height to know the love of Christ, and which passes all understanding. He's asking you to comprehend that passes all knowledge. That means he's saying you can never comprehend it, yet I want you to try to comprehend it all through the life that you're living, and that is what I'm asking you to do. Just look at it, and this is his style, and it is worth dwelling on for the lifetime. Just try to comprehend this incomprehensible thing that is called love of God. This difficult doctrine of love of God, I want you to, or I encourage you to, I recommend you to dwell on this for the eternity to come. Because that is his style. That's why we are here. That is why we are created. That is right, and that is where we are going to love. And I want to end with that. So what do we do with it? We reflect on this love, and we show this, we know this love. Now we reflect it. We reflect it, but then we have to be very, very sure that we reflect it in authentic manner, with flawed manner, because we are not capable of this perfect love. So when we reflect this love, we are reflecting it with our own depravity, our own flaws, our own failures, but in the confidence of his perfection that dwells in us, in his perfection that we are secure in his perfection that we are rooted in. With that flaw and perfection, that is how we are going to reflect on it. And we are going to dwell on it forever, because that is his style. And I really, truly believe I have to put a word to his style. That will be love. May God bless. Thank you.